Hello. Thank you for listening to and watching and loving You Had Options. This episode I have my buddy Bradley Thomas Turner on. He recently put out an album. It is called The Sounds of Bradley Thomas Turner, a major motion picture original soundtrack. It's a soundtrack to a movie that doesn't exist, and I love it. Really enjoy this conversation with him. He's toured around with the Handsome Scoundrels a lot, helping us out with video stuff and moral support and various talcum powdering issues and stuff like that. But yeah, make sure to check him out on Instagram. It's at Bradley Thomas Turner. You can go check out his very cool website. It is bradleythomasturner.com. Yeah, make sure to check out his new motion picture soundtrack wherever you get your music. You will enjoy it. Make sure to follow You Had Options on Instagram at You Had Options. Make sure to subscribe, comment, rate, review, all that shit. Find us on YouTube. Yeah. Hope you enjoy. Thank you. Thanks for joining me again. Oh, God damn it. Brad, thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
We're doing a reshoot.
Oh, so you're going to be honest about
I try to be honest.
Yeah. Do you want to give the backstory or this is actually my third episode. I mean, my second solo, my third appearance on the pod. Is it working?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just get nervous.
Oh, sorry. Oh, no, don't mind me.
I came on a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And ended up monologuing about Blank Check for like an hour and a half. And
Blank Check the movie.
I don't know why you're trying to bury it. Like, I don't know if you're in bed with I don't know, one of Blank Check's competitors. You have a stake in this?
Who would?
We decided to redo the episode.
Who would be Blank Check's competitors? Like, Winston Morris or whatever.
Yeah, is that the kid's name?
I don't know. Isn't that a cigarette company?
Yeah, maybe. I was trying to think of another movie that could. First Dunstan
Kid
checks in, isn't getting enough. First Kid is a good one. It's definitely the same tier of production value and just a much worse movie. But we also talked about that. I'm not going to talk about it.
Okay.
This time.
Okay.
If people want to see that, I think if people want to hear that podcast, they can just, I don't know, start a hashtag or something. Okay. You have like a subreddit, I think. All your fans.
Release the Brad cut.
Yeah. Release the tapes.
Yeah. Yes. What's your top tier Disney movies from the 90s?
The top ones?
S tier. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, where does the term S tier come from? Is that because I've only seen it in like weird Japanese video games, so I didn't know if that's like the origin of that, because I've been hearing that a lot. Like S tier is the top.
It's the top tier for some reason. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it a programming thing? Maybe. I don't know.
Maybe. I know in some game I was playing, they had your skills went up to A and then S once you like fully did it. I mean, we're just gonna end up having the same podcast as last time, but heavyweights obviously.
I don't care. Yeah.
S tier.
Yeah.
Heavyweights is like as good as it gets.
I think so.
You know, in terms of like a kids movie, it's like unironically good.
Still holds up.
Yeah. it's not too problematic. I mean, I'm sure it's like a little bit problematic, but compared to Blank Check, I think it's nothing.
Ben Stiller's terrorizing fat children.
Yeah, and it's not at their the joke's not really at their expense.
That's true.
Sorry, I had to get my plug in.
Perrier.
Yeah, they pay me. Yeah, I mean, all of those movies are so problematic when you go back and watch them. So Heavyweights, to be existing in a like a dangerous territory, to so easily could be body shaming or whatever.
Right.
But it's not. It's a celebration.
That's
like that's what they learn in the end.
That's
that
true.
Like they should just be happy. It's okay to be happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel like I gave all my takes on this though already on the previous.
Well, the previous one isn't getting released. Yeah.
But if you get me started, it's going to be like another hour of Blank Check.
Well, Blank Check was just a bad movie from just a movie standpoint.
Yeah, I mean, I think all of those movies except for Heavyweights, are technically bad movies.
Yeah.
Little Giants.
Yeah.
It's insane. Like all the sports ones, Rookie of the Year, Little Big League. I get those two mixed up. One is the kid breaks his arm and can pitch really fast. The other one, the kid becomes the manager of a professional team because he like inherits it or something, or like wins a contest or something. And
now he manages
it's like the Cubs or somebody. Yeah, I think Rookie of the Year he pitches for the Twins for some reason. It seems like they always had like licensed real teams. And the other thing was that they were always they were never competing for the World Series for some reason. They were always trying to win the pennant. Yeah. Which is like
the step before the World Series. Yeah.
So it's like I want to know why, like, did the World Series, was it like a trademark they couldn't license or something like that? Maybe.
There's more.
But there's lots of real teams though in the thing, so they're licensing like the IP of the various professional teams, even like, and some professional players like Barry Bonds. He strikes out Barry Bonds in Rookie of the Year. Yeah, it's sick.
Rookie of the Year, his throwing ability just goes away, or no, he gets hurt again.
Yeah, he gets hurt, and it makes it where his ligament in his arm, his elbow, for some reason is like super tight. Yeah. It's like a rubber band that's like pulled the full tension, so he can throw really hard. And in the game to win the pennant, he dives trying to catch a foul ball, like a little pop-up foul ball. He dives, I think, to catch it, and he lands on the arm, and he hears it crack. And then he looks into the stands and he sees his mom, single mother, who has always told him stories about his father being a great baseball player. Yeah. And that's the glove that he wears. And in that moment, he like looks to her and he's like, he like mouths it. He's like, it's done. And she says like, look in the glove or something like that. And he looks in and it has her name in it. Turns out she was the pitcher. Yeah.
What?
So he decides. So the last pitch he does a slow ball. Right.
He lofts it in.
Yeah, like an Evis or whatever they called it. Yeah. And for some reason the batter is just like utterly perplexed.
This monster of a guy.
He looks like Goldberg or something. Yeah. And he swings, so hard and like a professional hitter that would blow their mind so much.
I can't. Yeah.
It's not like he throws it overhand really fast and it comes out slow. He straight up underhands it. Right. Like granny shots it. It doesn't make sense. I don't know.
I can see the batter because he's like licking his lips. I remember that.
Yeah, he's like nasty, spitting tobacco.
Yeah.
They like really portray that in a nasty way.
Yeah.
I mean, as they should.
Right.
But, I mean, I'm not trying to judge anyone.
Tobacco shame.
Yeah, I mean, but it's gross.
It's pretty gross.
but it's tough.
It's pretty hard. Yeah, if you got to carry around a Dasani bottle to spit in.
Yeah. That being said, I'm just carrying around a
Perrier.
Perrier bottle.
Do you think anybody uses a Perrier bottle for their spittoon?
Yeah, probably some like French.
The
There's
French?
probably some French guys.
I was about to say.
Some like classy French people who dip. Don't have the association that we have,
Right.
where it's just like really gross and redneck.
There's French rednecks.
I'm sure. Yeah, I don't know of them, but I'm sure they exist. I'm sure there's the equivalent, like French sailors or something. They're like really tough and scary.
Yeah. And they're wearing the striped shirt.
Yeah.
like from
just like mimes.
Little Mermaid.
Yeah.
Or,
I was in Switzerland one time and I bumped into a French man who like I was just like walking in a really crowded area. This guy kind of walked into me and I guess he was drunk.
Yeah.
And I kind of like tapped him on the shoulder and was just like, my bad.
Yeah.
Which is just like I think a pretty like American thing to do,
right,
to like put your hands on someone that
That's
you don't
true.
know.
Yeah.
And he got really mad. And I remember he turned around and he was just like, I'm a very bad man. I'll kill you.
Oh, fuck.
But he wasn't like intimidating at all. He's kind of old. So I was just like, okay, whatever. And then he was like, let me buy you tequila.
Wow, this is a roller coaster.
Yeah, I didn't do it, but
Yeah.
it was cool. French people are cool. This guy kind of sucked, but
Hey man, it's
cultural experience, I guess.
you gotta, one bad baguette, doesn't ruin the whole. What's a bouquet of baguettes?
The whole bouquet of baguettes, the
Yeah.
baker's dozen.
The baker's dozen, yeah.
All 13.
But you have a new album that's out
That's correct.
for a movie soundtrack, right?
Yeah.
How would you describe it?
I would describe it as a fake movie soundtrack.
Okay.
Or a play on the idea of a movie soundtrack, if you will.
Shit.
Yeah, it's like a soundtrack, kind of, but it's also not, because to make a film score, you should be scoring it to picture.
Right.
Like that should be the thing. That's what makes it a film score, not
Right.
because it just sounds like it should be. Which is something I'm like into, and
Right.
like love that world, but I don't always get to work on films that I like, or even define the kind of films I like. It's like really difficult. So
What do you think what's your ideal film you would want to work on?
I mean,
Or is it just kind of whatever mood you're in at?
definitely like just
Could you do like suspense? Could you do horror? Do you have any desire?
I think I could if it were like really cool. And most of the time when you're trying to like get into film scoring or whatever, you end up scoring a lot of student films, and those usually aren't very good.
Right.
Like they might be good production value sometimes, like surprisingly
story,
good
yeah.
production value. Yeah, but the actual, you're like, they know a lot about cameras and stuff.
Yeah.
But the actual story is just like very, I don't know, not impressive. But it's because they're not really making the short film out of like a passion. They're making this short film to like show off their abilities.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. I feel like, there are lots of different kinds of films that have like really cool scores. Like if you think of The Witch or something like that.
The Vavitch?
Yeah. They can have like there's
Right.
a lot of possibilities for like a score for a film like that to not be really boring and cliche. But most of the time when you're doing like a student film or something, they're just like
Cliche.
wanting the most cliche thing possible.
What
usually ripping off something.
That's art, bro.
Yeah, it's part of it.
Part of it. What is there a movie that comes to mind that was a good story but bad music? Bad score?
Every kind of like the first thing that popped into my head was just like every kind of crime documentary.
Ooh. Yeah.
Like they all have the worst music.
Yeah.
Because I think that either they're not hiring people to make the music and they're just like licensing like generic suspense music or whatever. But where you're like, wow, this is like so good. The story is great. This is like fascinating, but the music's so cheesy.
Yeah.
Which I understand. Like, that's a lower standard for like television. Yeah, I think
that's probably like the last item on the list of things to do. Is like
and I mean it's that way in most. Like music is like the last thing to happen pretty much. Everything else has been decided, except for in situations where I mean there are famous I think situations where like a certain composer, a filmmaker like liked a composer and kind of like worked with them early on. Like I know Punch Drunk Love, if you've ever seen that.
Adam Sandler.
Yeah. And I mean, I believe it was Paul Thomas Anderson that made that.
Yeah.
And he went, and John Bryan did the music, who I love. He's like one of my favorite film composers. And they, like early on in the process, Paul Thomas Anderson told him like, oh, I kind of like, I know I want you to do the music and there's like certain things I want, but I want to like film it really like rhythmic. He had like rhythmic ideas for the music that he wanted. And he wanted those to like inform them while they were shooting it to be like, you know, not in the edit are we going to make it like have this pace, but we're going to be like working at this pace while we're filming. Yeah. So even before they started shooting, he had John Bryan make like loops of stuff that had the kind of like rhythmic feel that he liked. And he would like listen to it on set and be thinking about that like while he was vibing and stuff.
He's just catching a vibe before they start filming.
But I love that kind of stuff. Like that's like my ideal situation. It would be like somebody has a film, they think I'm good for it, and they're like wanting to like I'm into film music because I love music, but also because I love movies. Like it's like I like the world of filmmaking. So it's like I like the opportunity to be part of the process more than just, you know,
coming in at the end.
Yeah, all right. They're like, we've done everything. It's edited. We've got temp music, and just like make the fake version of it, please. Right. That just is just different enough that we can like not get sued. That doesn't like interest me that much. Right. I like having like, I don't know. There's a short film I'm working on. I'm doing music for right now. And it felt more like that. Like we worked on the music early on in the process.
Yeah.
Like they had already filmed it, but there was still a lot of stuff to kind of be decided. And it was like, it felt like there were early steps where it was like coming up with like how the music would sound and what the themes kind of were and things like that.
Yeah.
Which then like the person editing it can kind of get those and have there's a little bit more like back and forth.
Yeah.
Like they see this and they go, oh, that gives us like a whole new idea, you know?
Right.
It's not the most efficient way to work because then you get a new edit and everything you made is like, okay. It's especially at least certain types of music especially wouldn't be good, but I think the way I'm working, it is okay to do that, but it's definitely like I have the final cut now, or at least like the picture lock. And it's like a lot of adjustment to like use what we were already working on and figure out how to make it fit the new cut.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How did this person just hit you up, this director?
This person actually when the pandemic started, one of my goals, because I was like, I'm going to have a lot of time to work on stuff, was to redo my website and
your OnlyFans.
Yeah, my OnlyFans. Just like better content, get right to what people want.
I almost said something really gross, but I didn't want to break up the thought.
Well, I just like wanted to work on my website. Like I feel like I'm not really good at self-promotion.
It's tough.
Yeah, it's hard to do. I struggle with it, and
because you just feel like, well, at least for me when I'm doing it, just feel like a fucking tool. And I'm just like,
yeah, it feels gross.
It feels
and
gross. Yeah.
You see so much like awful self-promotion on the internet, like on social media and stuff.
Is this what I look like when I'm asking people to listen to my podcast?
Yeah, exactly. It's like really hard. And I felt like I went through phases where I would sort of at the end of grad school, I was like, oh, now I got to get serious about promoting myself. And
Yeah.
I did it, and I kind of like had a website. I worked on it a bit. I felt like I didn't have it. I didn't have any results from that though, which is what most people like would kind of tell me, like mentors and stuff I have would be like, oh, the website is like you meet someone, you make some kind of connection, then the website is where they go and they like find out stuff about you. And here, if they like you, nobody's just going to go to your website and see it and be like, I like this person. Let's get to know them or whatever. So I never had good results, but I think I kind of learned a lot in the last couple years and had more stuff that I was proud of to show off.
For sure.
And, so I kind of like started from scratch, and since my girlfriend is a great artist and
shout out to Hate Mail. To Kat.
Yeah, the best. And I knew she could like help me out a lot, like visually and things like that. And
she did all the art for me.
Yeah, she did all the art for you. Did all the art for my website.
You did the animation from her art for the video.
Yeah. So we did like similar to what we did for your podcast, we kind of did the same thing for my website, like a full design kind of thing, and sort of leaned in a little bit more to, I would say, oh, I want to like score this certain type of film.
Right.
But I also wasn't like promoting myself in that way. I was like trying to like do what it seems like people say you're supposed to do, which is like show all the different things you can do and
your range.
Yeah. Oh, you got to be able to do everything, and you got to be a chameleon and all this stuff. And it's like, the truth is I'm really, really bad at that.
Yeah.
And, I feel like I can't help but be myself, for better or for worse. So it makes more sense to just sort of like be like, hey, this is what I do. Yeah. If you like it, cool. If you don't, then just like go away, leave me alone.
You're a white salamander.
Yeah, white salamander. And led Joseph Smith to the Book of Mormon.
To the book.
But yeah, so anyway, long ways to say, I kind of like worked a lot on my website, and then I had like a list of people I wanted to reach out to, who I was like, these are people I like really want to work with, that I'm like, this would be huge for me. And so this one filmmaker who I'd seen her work a lot, and I was really like, I feel like I'm like a great fit to work with this person. And it's like, it wasn't just like, I'm going to reach out to anyone who has anything going on, but it was just more of a targeted thing.
Yeah, you weren't doing like a blanket, like just fucking.
Yeah, or just like anyone, like, and it's especially the world of like composers. It's like the film music world is really oversaturated. So every filmmaker says like they get just inundated, like with cold emails.
Right.
But I worked hard on my like kind of like approach to that kind of stuff, and like kind of like fired a few shots off into the air. Yeah, just like, let's see what happens. And that's how I met this.
Let that trick go.
Yeah, I like got in touch with this filmmaker because I really loved her work. And I was just like, oh, I feel like if she hears what I do,
if she saw it
and sees like what I'm about,
what
and then and that's kind of what happened. Like she instantly was like, oh yeah, I like love, this is exactly what I'm looking for.
Yeah, I think like you were just saying, getting your like how you are presenting yourself through like an email or something, and making the person aware that this just isn't a copy and paste like email that I'm just blasting everybody.
Yeah.
That's especially with like bands, and that's how I try and operate with sending out messages. I'm not just, because people could tell, and people are like, well, I don't fucking, okay.
Yeah. And I sort of realized, I would, before, when I was doing some sort of cold email or applying for something, I would always kind of hit this wall.
Yeah.
Number one, I think, we've talked about this. Like, I would like do a lot at once.
Right. Yeah.
Which is sort of burns you out and feels bad to be getting like rejected. You get like rejected 20 times or get no answer, and it's just like, oh, I just did so much work. But I think also in this situations, you're applying to things you shouldn't. You're just wasting your time, probably.
Same with jobs.
I would spend a lot of time like trying to apply for things that I really weren't right for me, and trying to like shift my stuff to look like I did fit with it. And it's like, just wasn't working.
Right.
And I kind of committed more to like, I'm going to, get my website where I want it. I'm going to like think of how I want my like cold emails to look like. I'm going to like design my cold email.
Right.
So where like you see it and you kind of like get a lot of like, at least of like my aesthetic or something like that. And then I noticed before I would kind of hit this point where I would do a bunch of work to like reach out to someone, and then one step along the way I would kind of be like, I would not go full send or whatever.
Gotta go
like
full send.
The email I would kind of like just be like, hey, like what's up? Like I wouldn't like
sup.
I would
that's
just
all
commit.
That's all you would send. Just sup ?
Sort of, but like I would be like, I wouldn't like spend the time I needed to, because it would be like I would start like doubting it.
Brad.
Something like that. So I kind of got to the point where I was like, no, I have this, like what I'm going to do. I'm going to send this to people. I'm only going to do it if it's something I really want to do.
Right.
I feel good about doing. And it, it's like, it makes a lot more sense than sitting around being like, oh, I wish I could score the films that I like. It's like, oh, you can find the people who make the films you like. You can take some shots to try to like work with those people.
Yeah, man.
If you feel like you can do it.
You got to make it happen sometimes, because
I live in Alabama. There's not a lot of filmmakers here, so
it's true.
And most stuff comes from just knowing people. Like it's very rare.
Connections. Yeah.
Like since I redid my website is the first time I've ever had situations where I'm just like reaching out to people and getting like, great responses or whatever, and like work and stuff.
Same.
Before that, it's almost always ever been like a friend of a friend, or directly from something that I did that someone saw.
Right. Yeah. Well, the way you present yourself, and it's obvious that you're not phoning it in. You're not just like, oh, it's whatever, on any of your stuff, like your website now, and because I had notes for your old website.
Yeah.
I'm just joking.
Yeah. You should have given them to me.
I'm just joking.
You're like, it'll crush him if I tell him the truth.
Right. I had to burn the paper.
Yeah.
I had a ceremony type thing. I was like, burned it and I let it go. But no, it's the little things that you can control of like looking professional and having your shit together.
Yeah.
Makes a huge difference to people.
Well, I think some of it too is like the difficulty of promoting yourself is that fear of like taking yourself too seriously.
Yeah, for sure.
When you see people, on the internet just being so horrible, cringy, whatever. And I mean, we've all done it, like hate followed someone or whatever, because we're just like, wow, can you believe this person? They think someone cares about this dumb thing. And,
right.
Which is probably not like a constructive thing to be doing, but I think we've all done it. And, but there's something really disingenuous about doing it halfway, like the kind of thing where you like, I mean, you are promoting yourself, but you're not just like fully committing. Yeah. Not that you shouldn't like strive for self-awareness and be like conscious of like, maybe someone doesn't need to hear about this, or maybe I'm asking a lot of people who don't owe me anything.
Yeah.
But there is something really disingenuous about trying to pretend like you don't care about promoting yourself or whatever,
right.
or that you don't think that what you do is good. It's like on some level you're doing that thing. No one's forcing you to do it.
You're already there.
Yeah. No one's like making your band record an album. You're doing it because you think the music is good or you enjoy it. And if you're sharing it in some sense, it's because you want people to hear it.
Yeah.
So why pretend like it's not the case?
Right.
Like that's a thing I think applies to like a lot of different areas. Like the thing I think Henry from Oslo.
Shout out Henry.
Yeah,
Hank,
Henry.
aka
Hank, French Henry.
French Henry.
They like when you're playing music that's kind of like sensitive, I think there's like this feeling that you should be like, it's like shy. It's like this like shy, sensitive, like vulnerable music or whatever. But the truth is, like, if you're getting on a stage,
You're already there.
You're like, you have to have some, if you want that to be successful, I think on some level you have to have some energy that's like, I am good.
Yeah.
I think you want to hear this.
Yeah.
If you don't, then it's like, why are you doing it? Like, then you're just you're annoying people. You're just like filling up space or whatever. And it's a hard balance. If you play aggressive music, it's sort of, they work hand in hand.
Yeah.
But I think even if you see like, I don't know if you like Sufjan, but like his live performances and stuff, like his music's so sensitive and sweet. When you see him live, it's like he's kind of a rock star.
Right. Yeah.
He's not obnoxious. He's very like, he does his thing, but like he knows that he's very, very good at what he does, and he's confident, and he's not like on
like
stage being like, oh, don't look at me or whatever.
Please. Yeah.
He knows he's the star.
Right.
And I think it's okay to like, like I said, if you're going to play music, if you're going to get on the stage, then just like admit, I want to be on stage. That's okay.
You can't half step. You can't dip your toe in.
Yeah, and it's almost more obnoxious if you're trying to be like, oh, don't make me do it.
Like bashful.
Like, no one is making you do it. You chose to do this.
It's not like you're whatever Morrissey in the early 90s where it's like, no, don't, please touch me. Oh no, don't touch me.
Yeah. Which is just like,
that's that whole in the modern era. Yeah.
But it's even like a thing where someone can do that on stage. They still have like a belief and an ability to like own it or something, you know, or play the character.
Yeah.
Like you have to kind of have like I don't know. I'm sure there's, I don't want to say it definitively, but at least for me, that's like what I feel like I've learned is like, if you're just doing it like afraid without some like confidence, it's really hard to be successful.
Yeah. It's tough to get there too. It took me a long time to get there with band stuff and just cause it's precious to you, the thing that you're doing. And so you're like, you don't want to put yourself out there and have people be like, this fucking turd sandwich.
I think that's why I don't really do my own. Like most of the times I'm playing, it's just playing other people's music with them. And that's really enlightening. Like you learn a lot seeing the way other people handle performing their music, for better or for worse. You sort of see the ways where you're like, the false modesty, how it can come across, or just overly precious or whatever it is. You kind of like see it. It's really easy to see it from the outside. That being said, if I had to do, I used to play kind of my own songs. I don't do that anymore. I don't know if I could ever, I was never quite able to do that when I was like doing my own songs. You know, it's really hard to, if you're the person who's like, this is my music, listen to me sing or whatever, I'm the star. It's tough, I think.
Yeah.
It definitely takes some time.
Yeah. Yeah. 'Cause I think most normal people are like, man, I don't want to be a fucking turd. I don't want to be like some, do you follow Riggs of Dad?
Mm-mm.
Do you know Riggs of Doom on Instagram?
No.
Riggs of Doom is like a, like stoner metal, like rig rundowns. So these, a 3-piece has like, 4 Ampeg 8x10s, and just a wall of amps type of deal. And then there's Rigs of Dad, which is like a parody account where they're posting like boomers who play like cover songs, like they're like Rigs.
They're like a 3 Doors Down cover band.
Yeah, and they got like a whatever line 6 that's solid
tough.
state.
It's tough, that world of like laughing, like
But you want to be like self-aware. Like that's what I'm getting at. You want to.
It's a total battle.
You want to be self-aware, but you also want to be confident, and it's tough. It's a tough.
Yeah, it's tough, and it's hard to know how you're perceived by like other people. Like there's people who in real life, like I love them, and their internet, the way they come across on the internet, I'm like, just can't deal with it,
bro. I'm right. I'm sitting. We're literally talking.
I see your post. There are many people I've unfollowed. People who I like not I not unfollow, but maybe like muted or something because I realize like, oh, it's not worth it to like damage my friendship with this person because of how like dumb what they post is or like the tone because they don't realize how it sounds.
Right.
I know they're not like this in real life.
Right.
It's just like something about their writing style or something like that. It just like makes them look or sound like an idiot or sound, whatever. They don't have self-awareness in that realm.
Yeah.
I'd rather unfollow them than like, the next time I see them in person be thinking like, oh,
this
idiot.
Yeah.
Why'd you have to post that? Like,
yeah.
Why can't you just shut up? It's just,
why? Man.
Why'd you have to do it?
It's freedom of speech, bro.
Yeah. It's great. Yeah. It's a great thing.
Yeah, I had to leave to the listeners, we're neighbors. Mm-hmm. And there's a local Facebook group for this neighborhood. And I had to leave it because it was driving me insane.
Yeah.
Because of the dumb shit that people post.
Yeah. I mean, I'm really, really bad about being bothered by stuff I see on the internet and then choosing to keep looking at it.
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Like, yeah, just even like that. I'm happy to say that I pretty much quit using Facebook.
I'm 3 months clean.
Yeah, I'm clean. There was like a study you could sign up for where they would pay you to not use Facebook.
Yeah.
So I did that and instantly like felt so much better.
Yeah.
Facebook in particular. But I mean, I feel like I do the same thing on Instagram.
Yeah.
But like I do know that you can find anyone on Facebook, and I would have these times where I would like encounter someone in the wild and be like, oh, I bet their Facebook is insane. And then I would look it up, and then I would be like screenshotting and be like sending it to my friends, being like, look at this crazy person. Yeah. And then it's just like, what good is this? Yeah, it's not good for me.
That's unhealthy.
It's not, it's not like
it's toxic.
They're not going to change. I'm not like
Yeah.
It's just really, really unhealthy.
Yeah.
Like most of the internet, I guess.
Yeah. Yeah. It's and it's tough doing anything creative or just creative stuff because you want people, you want traction, and you want the internet currency of people sharing and liking and shit.
You want validation too.
Right.
Like you want people to tell you, good job.
Right.
I see you. I see what you do.
I see you. Yeah.
Yeah. You want to be seen. It's a good feeling. I don't know. It's all of technology. I feel like I'm in like a lot of who I am. There's like a lot of things in conflict, which is like I'm so reliant on technology,
right?
Which is not like a bold mission, but like but even like the music that I make, like the work that I do, I really feel like I couldn't exist in any other period of like time. I don't know that I would be a composer 60 years ago or whatever. Because of the way you can't, the flexibility and the being the sort of like introverted person who isn't gonna just like boldly go out and proclaim to the world that I'm good. I'd rather sit alone in my room and like work on it for like a long time, and then before I let anyone know about it or something like that. A lot of the ways that I work and the ways that I exist couldn't have happened in any other period of time so far. So I simultaneously like hate a lot of things about technology. I hate thinking about digital recordings of music, and
why?
Well, there's just like something inherently dishonest about. We live in like a weird time where.
What do you mean? Sorry, what do you mean digital? Like digital, like like using like
I guess it goes
and
deeper
stuff, or like what do you?
I mean like the process of converting like a sound to a digital signal.
Okay.
So like an analog to digital conversion.
Gotcha.
I mean, it's like comparing, and I say this like I work in the digital realm like fully. Like
right.
I don't record on anything except for the computer.
Right.
Even if I record like onto a tape or something, I'm still just gonna put it on the computer.
Right.
To edit it and distribute it. Similar to like a film photograph compared to like a digital photograph. If you zoom in close enough on a digital photograph, you're just gonna see a bunch of dots.
Yeah.
And a film image is like the actual light like burned onto that film.
Yeah.
And digital, when a sound is converted to digital, it's like if you zoom in far enough, you're gonna see little bites, like little I think most of the time now people are recording like 48 kilohertz.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of samples. It's sampling at like an extremely high speed, but it's still like, and we live in a time where most of the stuff you hear is like recorded. You don't hear that much stuff like directly from people. Like you hear like all the music you listen to is recordings of it.
Yeah.
All the shows you watch obviously are coming through like a TV. Most of the time when you talk to your friends, especially in like the age of COVID, probably like over the phone or something. So it's strange to think about hearing fake versions of everything. That's ultimately what you're hearing compared to an actual like sound.
Right.
And then like an analog recording, at least there's some like interaction between like this medium that's recording it and like an actual sound that's happened. So that's why like an overdrive or something like that can sound really cool. As opposed to like when something digital like overdrives, you're just reaching the cap of the amount of data that can be there. So there's nothing is getting recorded. But it's like strange to think that there were times when nothing was recorded. All sounds like existed in the moment and then they just died.
Yeah.
And every sound, which I mean, every sound is, a sound happens. It's fully unique.
Yeah.
Defined by wherever it takes place.
Yeah. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. So it's like, even if I like snap my fingers 3 times, that's 3 different sounds.
And it's gone.
They're gone. And we can record them, which is great. But that recording of that it's not the same thing.
Yeah.
Has to like be treated like it's a different thing.
It's true.
So we live in this realm where like we record everything and we pretend that it's like, that we're like,
it's real.
It's real. Yeah. Whereas like, I think it's cooler to just like accept like, no, this is just a different thing. It's like, you can spend a lot of time trying to make things sound. It's like, oh, I want to listen to the recording and feel like I'm in the room with the band or whatever.
Right.
But it's like, it's kind of like a lie. Like they're not there. They probably recorded this at different times.
Yeah.
There is a sense like there's a reason you want to like capitalize on the sound of a bunch of people in a room. It's not a bad thing to like utilize because it does like bring it to life and make it feel real. But there is something weird to me about like, I don't know, like trying to fool people. That's sort of what a lot of recordings do.
But is it malicious? Is it nefarious?
I don't think it's like intentionally nefarious necessarily. I think it's, but I think it's like a problem, or at least it like that. It's disappointing to me because, it's like there's just something. I mean, there are inherent problems with the world of electronics, like things like.
Right.
if we went back far enough, the loudest sounds on Earth weren't really that loud. Like maybe a volcano erupting. I think I've heard things about that being like extremely loud. But for the most part, any person now can generate like more sound than would have been like physically possible.
Yeah.
Not very long ago.
Right.
So like vehicles, for instance, are extremely loud, or the ability to amplify sound with like a microphone. Like we can essentially make anything as loud as we want it.
Right.
There's not really like a limit to the volume. And the more sound you create, the more opportunity you kind of destroy for other sounds. As well as the more sounds exist kind of like in a vacuum where they're just digital recordings and people are listening to them, the less like interaction with real sound there is in the world.
Interesting.
And in nature. So I think if you went back in time, allegedly, or there's some evidence of this, that like various writers from different cultures would actually write about sound in different ways. So like according to like where they lived, the way they would describe the sound of the sea would be much different. It's like someone who lived near glaciers the way they would describe the sound of the water was going to be a lot different than someone who lived by a mountain. Because it's like these sounds literally are affected by the environments that they're in.
Yeah.
And so we're like more and more moving to times where it's just like everything sort of, we don't think about sound at all. We don't really like,
it's true.
We just sort of like stick things in our ears that just send sound like directly to our brains. Constantly, which is cool. You can curate your soundtrack, which is nice. And I totally do that. But I don't know, there's just something kind of like, I feel like you like lose that a little bit. And then it seems like things start sounding the same. Like it's like the voice has to sound this like very certain way now.
Yeah.
Or the average person is just like, can't have it. It feels like every pop singer has to be like auto-tuned to death.
Yeah.
And compressed to where it sounds like you might as well be playing a sampler.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that,
it's not
going to be on the radio or whatever. And that eventually just sort of, it's like things are, it starts destroying the diversity of sounds. And then from an artistic perspective, I do think there's something weird about trying to trick people. Which is like telling people, oh, this is this person's voice. And it's like, it is not their voice.
Yeah.
If you heard them sing, and what ends up happening, like a video comes out of whatever pop singer
really singing,
and it really singing, and everyone's like, oh, listen to them bomb. And it's like, no, that's just what they sound like. You've just never heard them before.
Right.
But sort of, I think even in films, I was really interested in a lot of filmmakers, a lot of like French filmmakers from the 60s, like French New Wave.
Right.
They were, I think a lot of them started as like film critics, and they like developed like film theories before they even like started, like they were like literally like watching films, writing about them before they kind of like developed their like philosophies and then started making films. But they thought in the realm of film that it was like you were in contempt of the audience if you tried to make people forget that they were watching a film, which is definitely like a big thing now. Like everything's almost like hyper realistic.
Yeah.
There's not a lot of like stylization.
Yeah.
It's a lot of, even if you're watching like a ridiculous superhero movie or whatever, the way it's filmed, like you're not seeing like the way it's shot. It's like they want you to forget that you're watching a movie. And those guys were like, that's wrong. And maybe even like morally, I think, or like ethically or unethical, rather, because you're trying to trick people. Films are like inherently manipulative. So is sound, like on a very like deep level. And you're sort of trying to trick people. There's something wrong there. So a lot of those French filmmakers were doing things constantly to like remind people this is a movie. right? Like the text on the screen, even something you wouldn't see now. Like you don't see too much text on the screen.
Yeah.
You know, they were doing like all these stylistic things, or even like having, or like jump cuts, like cuts that would happen that totally broke continuity or whatever. Right. It was like, no, don't forget, this is a movie. Like, I'm a filmmaker. I'm telling you, watch this thing and like listen to it. And, you know, it's sort of like being respectful of the people watching it. Cause it's like, I'm already I have an intention with this. I'm saying, right, look at this screen, hear this sound, I want you to feel this way. The least I can do is kind of be like, and just so you know, it's me doing this. Like, it's a film. It's not real life.
But shouldn't people know?
I think subconsciously, like, you get like lost in it.
Right. Of. Yeah.
But I think everyone's felt that way.
Yeah.
And I think just from the standpoint of the creator, just sort of being like, no, I want to like not rely on that. Like, in a sense, they were also like, it's cheap. Like, me trying to like trick you and you forgetting or whatever.
Yeah.
You know, so I even think that way about, I guess, like music. Like, I don't want to make stuff that's like trying to trick people.
Okay.
Like, I don't want someone to like listen to it. I don't know how to explain it, but like, even, I mean, as I say this, I remember Neil Young originally was like really against stereo recordings.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've heard him talk about that before, mm-hmm. but same kind of thing. He was like, it's an illusion.
Right.
He's like, you know, you listen to these two speakers.
Drums really aren't over here.
Yeah. And it gives you this like fake feeling. Cause I mean, if you listen to two stereo speakers, you hear stuff out here.
Right. Yeah.
You know, your brain tells you there's something out here. And he like didn't like something about that, the illusion of it, relying on a magic trick or whatever.
I mean, mono is better.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely.
Obviously.
But it's like, so it's like it's like hypocritical because like obviously I'm recording in stereo and obviously I'm using the computer like crazy. But I spent a lot of time thinking about like, I want to be inspired by like lots of old things. Like, I'm really inspired by a lot of old things, like old films and old music. But I also don't want to just like make music that tries to sound like it's old.
Right. Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I wouldn't mind if someone was confused, but like I try to do stuff that like I want it to be like, I feel like if you listen to my music, I want you to know, like, to have some idea of when it was created. Yeah. Possibly. Or at least know like this couldn't. Yeah. Like and there's a lot of people out there like making like fake old music.
No.
Too. And I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a fair representation of your music. You can tell that it's inspired by like old stuff, but you're making modern music in the way you want to. You're not trying to force a sound or something.
And I think my album was trying a lot to like play on going from like older sounding film score type stuff to like a lot of tracks like start like that, and then as the album progresses and sometimes as some of the tracks progress, it's like they sort of shift and sort of like collapse or something like that.
Yeah.
Which is just sort of how I've often felt in relationships and things like that. Like just feeling like a lot of like overly romantic feelings into just like existential crisis.
Yeah. Into nothingness.
Yeah.
Black hole.
And often in the span of a short amount of time, and often fully internally, you know?
Yes.
Like the other person probably not aware of either end of that spectrum.
Right,
They're just like, oh, we're drinking coffee.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But in my mind, it went from like romance film to like end of the world.
Right. 500 days of Brad.
Yeah. So I don't know. That was a really long explanation for a lot of nothing, but the sort of stuff I spent a lot of time thinking about.
Yeah.
When it comes to music and film. So I'm in the stylized stuff. That's the short answer.
Right.
Like, I like filmmakers who like, I feel like I'm watching a film.
Right.
And I think that's even something that's true in the acting styles. Like we joke about the transatlantic accent, you know. But yeah, there was a time period where it was like, oh, we're like, there's sort of this accent that you use when you're in a film,
right?
Because these aren't real people, you know. And I like that, like, heightened. You know, like you could watch 80s movies and be like, oh, they're cheesy, but it's like, no, it was just, it's like it was heightened. People didn't try to act like, they weren't trying to act like normal people or real people or whatever. I think we're in a time of like extreme realism where it's like, oh, I believe it. You know, this person's living this. And I don't know. It's fine, but I think we could use some more like heightened, aware, intentional Hollywood stuff.
Yeah.
And a big studio with a big fake set.
Okay.
Which is cool to me.
Yeah.
I like fake stuff in a weird way. Like if it's intentional, you know?
Yeah, I get that.
There's something to that. There's something like to the idea of like, this is a movie. It's fake.
I know. This
you
is
know
fake.
it, right? Yeah, like acknowledging it. But then when there is feeling, like when you're watching a movie like that, when you know it's a film, when it's heightened, but then when something hits, you're like, oh, this is like this. It's not the illusion of life or like.
Does it need to be like fourth wall breaking? Is that what you're talking about? With,
not
like,
necessarily. I think it could
like,
just be like. I mean, I think that is why like there have definitely been, I think, examples I can think of like the movie JCVD.
Right.
You see that like when he breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
You know, stuff like that I always found really stunning. But I don't think it necessarily has to be breaking the fourth wall. But it's just something of like intentionally reminding me that, like, I don't know, I've had the feeling of watching a movie before and losing myself in it.
Was it 8 Mile?
And then what?
8 Mile?
8 Mile, yeah. I lost myself in the music.
Yeah, the moment.
And I don't know, like felt invested, and then after it ends, I'm like, oh yeah, that wasn't real. I forgot for a second. Like, I don't know if you ever feel that way. You just like fully get so into something that you forget anything else exists. And then I'm like, I don't know, what did I, like, it was fine. I mean, video games give me that feeling, and that's fine too. I like immersive video games, but I don't know. I think I get more out of, at least me personally, like I enjoy the feeling more of when I am thinking about the fact that it's a film in a sense, and still experiencing it on like a very I'm not like fully just like criticizing it or whatever.
Yeah.
Like thinking of it in terms of, is this a good movie?
Right.
I'm still like having this like experience of the movie going, but I don't know. It sort of both things can kind of exist at once. Music is like that too. So
it's true.
But like, I don't know. I don't want to like listen to the recording and then feel like I'm in the room. I don't know. I want it to be like a fake room.
I feel that.
Or give me a hint that it's a fake room. Give me the studio fade or whatever.
Studio fade.
Yeah. It's like these are things that can't happen in real life or don't happen in real life. I like that kind of stuff.
I got you.
Give me I don't know. It's like there's just something different between live music and recorded music, and and they should be like fully acknowledged and played with, and I don't know.
Yeah.
I like that kind of stuff.
Wow. Yeah, like meta type stuff. I don't know. Is it?
Yeah, I guess it is. I mean, I think some of it is that probably uncanny valley kind of stuff.
Right.
Too.
Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So I think that like when you have these like recordings, the world of digital, like everything is just so clean.
Yeah.
And the truth is we don't really like experience that much sound even as clean as they can like record it.
Right.
They're like in the perfect room. And it makes sense from sort of efficiency standpoint to record something where you have infinite possibilities of how to deal with it later.
Yeah.
If we record it in a, perfectly, I mean, I guess there's no such thing as like a perfectly, every room does something, but like a room that has few reflections and few natural reverb, it's like, oh, we can add any reverb we want to it. We have the full spectrum.
We got
and we have the full, and the room also has this perfect frequency response. So there's no part of the sound that's too much of a peak or anything like that. So fully we can EQ it in any way we want to. We don't have to like deal with any problems. But that's just not really how you hear music.
Yeah.
You know, like if I pulled out a snare drum right now and hit it right here, you wouldn't hear like a clean signal. It would almost be distorted. Yeah. Because it's loud, and it just would go crazy in here. Yeah. And I don't know, there's something about the difficulty of like recording in that really clean way and then trying to like give the illusion that it wasn't recorded in the most boring way possible, the most like isolated, sterile. Perfect way. Yeah, the sterile, cold way. Yeah. It does lead to that like uncanny valley thing where it's not really, you know, aware or honest or something. Yeah. Where a lot of times if, I don't know, you can hear recordings that someone made on their phone that can sound, you know, incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. We don't record to like a click track or anything just because it's, I don't know, it doesn't work for us. But yeah. So we do everything live. But I've heard, you know, this is a normal thing. But I've heard, you know, bands recordings and they're very good. I'm like, oh shit, there's like chemistry here. But then watch them live and I'm like, oh man, there's a lot of post-production done.
Yeah, that's definitely true. Yeah. Yeah, it's weird for everything to be so recording heavy and then to have to deal with like, what does that mean when you play it live? Yeah. And sort of trying to realize that there's just a difference. Right. And that's okay. Yeah. And some things won't work and some things, you know, only work in different situations. But yeah, I still feel like the best recordings use some more of like an older approach, or at least I shouldn't say the best. I don't think objectively there's like any truth about that. I don't think there's like an objective truth about sound or anything like that. It's a subjective thing where this like what I like. My favorite recordings are the ones where the performances are good and they were able to capture a performance and like performance over fidelity. Like I'd much rather hear a great performance recorded on someone's phone than hear the most edited trash from whatever pop singer because they were in the best studio and they got the best engineer or whatever. That's important to me. A lot of people, I don't know. I don't think people value performance that much because you can get away with just you can fix everything, you know.
It's true. Get it in post.
Yeah, you can do everything in post. And we're at a point where just like we record the sterile sounds, like films as well are made where, you know, everything's as intentionally flat as possible. So it's like, oh, we have the most color opportunities when we go to edit. We have the most everything. There are less decisions made, you know, when it's being made or whatever. Right. I kind of like always liked it where I liked more when I would hear about, oh yeah, they knew when they went to shoot this that like these were the colors they wanted to have and they designed all of it perfectly and they made these decisions and were ultimately like stuck with them for better or for worse. Right. And at least for me, like when it came to recording, I spent a lot of time researching things like how do I make this sound good? Yeah. And it's just like I don't even know what that means, you know, like what does that mean? How do you make the acoustic guitar sound good? It's like you end up making the most boring, like you can read about the most ideal way to do it, but it's like it should all be just based on like what works for what you're doing, which should be based on your ear. There's techniques to use and you can start with those, But you should like never just be going like, well, the book said to do this. The internet, the message board. He said, get this thing, turn these knobs, whatever.
Yeah.
It's like I wasted a lot of time doing stuff like that. And there's something about like knowing, oh, I want it to sound this way.
Yeah, that might be a good starting point, but that shouldn't be the rule. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Where it's like, oh, if this is the sound that whatever fucking. I want the System of a Down fucking chop suey guitar sound. How'd they do it? And look that up, and then But even if you're just going like, oh, I want the System of a Down sound, like that's a good place to start compared to like, I feel like I didn't even have ideas that clear. I wasn't even like, I want to sound like this person. I would just be like, how are you supposed to record this thing? Oh, I gotcha.
And it's like so broad.
Yeah.
But I feel like I'm the opposite now. Where I'm like,
you know what you want.
Yeah, I'm like trying to, and I would rather record it and go, okay, that wasn't it.
Yeah.
Let's do it
Next
again.
thing. Yeah.
Than just to be like, no, I'm going to record everything the most, sterile way possible.
Right.
And do it all later. It just doesn't really appeal to me.
Right.
I don't know. All of that kind of just sounds boring to me. Like people.
Yeah.
I mean, everything I'm saying sounds boring, I'm sure, but, I don't know. I like the idea of people being like artists and people making decisions.
Yeah, you got to find your own
having
thing.
Things where they're like, "This is what I'm going to do," and
right.
You're like, "Yeah, maybe it didn't work, but it's cool that they had like a point of view."
Right.
And there's just so much bad stuff out there.
Yeah.
And we just have so much, the airwaves, the sonic spaces are just flooded with music. I mean. Literally, when you go anywhere, you have to hear people like playing stuff on their cell phone or whatever. Yeah. And I don't know. I try to just be a little bit more conscious about like if I'm gonna make sound, I want to like think about it a lot.
Yeah.
Even whether it's like playing live or making recordings or whatever.
Right.
I spent a lot of time. I've played in like a lot of situations where I hated the music, and I would, it would be like a gig that I had, or I was playing with someone as a favor.
Right.
I'm sure everyone who plays music's had the experience where like a friend gets them to play, and then you're like, oh, this isn't good, but I got to do it. And I kind of realize now, like, if you're going to play, like, think about why you're doing it, because you are you're creating an environment where people can hear you.
Right.
Potentially they can't hear other things. So it's kind of like a big deal.
Yeah.
In terms of like you're ultimately taking up space. So if you're going to do that, you shouldn't be sitting there thinking like, this is dumb.
Yeah.
And if you do, then don't play.
Right.
But if you're going to play, like at least find some way to like have some like respect for what you're doing.
Right.
Like think about it. Romanticize it or something to make it feel good. Like that's what I try to do now. If I'm in a situation where I hate what I'm playing, I think about like, oh, the sound's coming out and it's like hitting these things and it's never going to exist. This is never going to exist again.
Yeah.
Even if someone records it, it's not going to be the same thing as like what's happening right now based on where the people are, whatever. And then that like makes me feel good.
Yeah.
Compared to just being like, oh, why am I playing this trash?
I feel that.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. I think we're done. I think we've peaked. We're done.
I was going to go for like
2 more.
I'll rant about sound for like forever.
Do you,
that's the fun thing about a podcast is like,
man.
In day-to-day life, I start talking about this and
people are like,
person just walks away.
Just walks away. Yeah.
But a podcast, you're kind of stuck.
Yeah. Do you have any parting words or wisdom or anything to bestow?
Well, since I'm on my soapbox,
right.
I'd say all that stuff matters. I think like sound matters and it like affects you a lot.
Yeah.
It causes like it can cause a lot of anxiety. I don't know if you've ever been disturbed by a sound before.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, you've probably woken up to an alarm
Yeah.
going off and the panic and the very real things. That's like, if you're a musician, think about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Try to like figure out what that means. Is it good sound, bad sound?
Yeah.
Should you be playing that acoustic guitar at that party that no one asked you to play at? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When you whip that guitar on, just start blasting people with Wonderwall.
It's a great
Are
song.
you really like respecting the
space,
the sonic space? Yeah. You're probably not.
No.
Spoiler alert. Right. But maybe if you feel good about it. But I always was just disturbed by people like that.
Yes.
And never understood that part of like being a musician.
It goes back to being self-aware.
Yeah. I just always like, even when my parents or someone would be like, come and play for the family or whatever, I'd be like, no, I'm good. I don't want to do that.
No.
I always had this thought process of like, I only wanted, for some reason when I was young, I wanted to be good. And I just thought it meant nothing to have your family tell you you're good. So like, what was the point of playing for them?
Right.
Because they're going to say like,
you're good.
Oh, you're so good.
Right.
You're like, this could be trash, whatever.
Right.
But at any rate, yeah. Think about sound. Think about how it affects you, how it affects your world.
Yeah.
Maybe you'll like find out that there's some sound that causes you discomfort in your space. And maybe you'll figure out how to get rid of it, that you can do. Yeah. You know, if you need to move to a place that's less noisy.
Yeah.
It's bad for you, so.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow. Well, Brad, you had options, so you decided to talk to me.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Thanks for doing this again.
Namaste.
Namaste. I respect the God within you.